Yes, class. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Who all are present? Can you just tell me your name one by one? This is Jesleen.
Yes, ma'am.
And next? Is it Saima or Shaima? Just let me know.
It's Shaima.
Shaima. And this is Sehla.
Sahla, yes.
Sahla. All right, all right. So you all are in class 11th?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. See, class, this is your first class and we have started the session earlier. Usually class 11th usually begins in the month of April. So since we've started early, for Ramzan, the timings are a little different, right? Otherwise, the timings will not be the same like this for the rest of the year. All right. So how will we go about it? Firstly, let me brief you with the syllabus because class 11th is completely new. It's different. So I'll be dealing with your physics. Now, see how will we proceed in the classes that I'll be teaching you a portion and then that portion you will write when I'll give you sufficient time. All right. Any doubts if you have in between, you can unmute yourself and ask, or the best is that the chat column is open all the time. So you can text anytime which you want, any doubt if you have, any query if you have, anything you want or any change that you want. All right. See, it's class 11th is completely different from your class 10th and class 9, but major portion of your class 11th is as an extension of your grade 9. All right, most of the things that you've studied in your class 9th, you will be studying it in detail in class 11th. And class 11th is more difficult than your class 12 because the syllabus is also very lengthy, the calculation part is also very lengthy, and the conceptual part is a lot. All right, so you all of your board exams are over for class 10? All of you are free from the board exams?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, all right. So right now you must be waiting for the results, but see, when the results come, a lot of time gets passed away. So that's why we have started the session earlier so that we also get a lot of time. Because let me tell you earlier only, if you prepare your class 11th well, you'll not be having any difficulty in your class 12th. All right, your class 12th will be just simple. New topics will be there in class 12, but mostly the concept that you will be studying in class 11th, those are very essential. Especially quantities like vectors will be used throughout. Some topics you will study in class 11 that will not be just a part of your class 11th, that will be a topic. For example, if I talk about addition, you have studied addition in your lower classes, you do not study addition in your higher classes, but you use them, right? Because they have their applications. So similarly, some topics are present in your class 11 that directly have no application, right? But indirectly you will be using it everywhere. All right, so that's why we have elaborate syllabus of class 11. So I'll also suggest you side by side keep on revising. Any doubts if you have, update me with the doubts. Any particular topic if you are having difficulty, then let me know about the same. All right. So yes, so all of you are present, Sela, Jesleen and Shaima. Someone also. Okay, let's wait for one more minute, then we'll start. I think only Sabiha had to join. Let's start with the class because it's already, we have less time in during this month. Ramzan, at least for the time being, we have very few time. So let's not waste time. Let's start with it. Yes, Sabiha Sheikh, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I hope I'm pronouncing the names correctly wherever I'm. I am wrong, just let me know. All right, so I've just discussed the basics of how we'll be proceeding. So everything I'm repeating again, it's just that whatever portions we'll be studying in the class, I'll be telling you the theory part. I'll be practicing numericals with you as soon as that one topic gets over. All right, this is how we have been proceeding always. And whenever I'm teaching, please do not write that time. All right, I'll give you sufficient time to write it down. I'll give you sufficient time to copy it down. You'll have sufficient time to write it. I'll be going according to your speed. If you want, I'll scroll up. If you want, I'll scroll down. However you wish to. It's just that do not. Okay, Sabia. All right. It's okay for today. Otherwise, also, if you all wish, chat column is open. It's not compulsory from my side that you have to always unmute yourself for your doubts. Whenever I am asking, try to be alert. All right. And try to answer. At least if you respond even in the chat column, that is fine by. And one more thing, the most important thing is that the class notes that you will be writing here in the classroom, those are sufficient. Everything will be covered regarding your in-text questions, regarding your back exercises. Even if a topic is hidden in your in-text question, that is being told or elaborated separately in the class. So these class notes are completely sufficient. That's why make them properly in a separate register. All right, make them properly in a separate register where you will be dealing with these. All right. And then this is it. And anything if you want to ask in between, you can always ask. I'm here. Let me tell you just about the first unit basics unit. And that first unit is very easy. Mostly students judge physics by the first unit. Let me tell you, second unit is completely different. You have a tricky, lengthy concept of kinematics. It's difficult. But if you will be practicing simultaneously with the class, you'll not be having any difficulties. So see, when we talk about the first unit is all about the physical world and measurement. Physical world and measurement. Now, this is a very easy lesson. It just involves the concepts of some basic forces. It involves the concept of your units. And one concept is there that I have already written here, that is dimension analysis. That's a very important topic. Let me just tell you. See, firstly, this deals with introduction to physics. That is your NCERT chapter 1, if you want to refer. Introduction to physics. This is your NCERT chapter 1. I'll be telling you that the deleted portions also you will be having after class assessment. You will be given homework after every class as an assignment to be solved. So all the things will be done. It's just that you have to keep on practicing. Then after this introduction part is nothing there in your syllabus. So that's what we have discussed. Introduction to physics. You already know about physics. Main concept that we'll be studying about is dimension analysis. This comes in your exam. Even the students who have to appear for JEE, NEET, and their after class 12th entrances, this topic is so simple, looks very easy, but this also has a small weightage in your portions. All right. So this is dimensional analysis. I'll be going slowly initially. Okay, so that you also cope up with it, because since you have just come from class 10th and from class 10 to 11th is a huge jump, right? We all understand that. So we'll be going slowly initially, but any changes if you want, you can let me know. This is included, this is started from your chapter 2. Chapter 1, nobody asks in the exam. Because the forces that are mentioned in your chapter 1, they have their separate chapters itself, like your gravitation force. So you have chapter 8 of your first book physics, that is about gravitation only. Then you have laws of motion as your chapter 4, that's about friction and all the forces only. So that's why chapter 1 we need not do, because you will be doing it. All right, I hope you know 2 books are there, part 1, part 2 for your NCERT. Then third portion is your error analysis. See, the best part about error analysis is that it is deleted. After COVID and all, the syllabus were revised, right? Syllabi were revised a lot. So error analysis is not present. So we'll also not be discussing about error analysis. If anyone wants to discuss it, or in someone's school this has been discussed, so just mention me. One more thing, class, we'll be going according to our speed, right? In your school a different speed will be maintained, so you have to balance between the two. So in this, sometimes what happens is that you get your unit tests, unit exams are approaching, half yearlies are approaching, some tests are approaching, and that has not been covered in the class because we here go slowly. We practice, instead of one numerical we practice 4 numericals after every topic. So how would you manage that? You just tell me the topic that is coming in your exam. I'll take your separate extra class so that this class doesn't get disturbed. All right, this class doesn't get disturbed. All right, we'll be having the separate uh, revision class or preparation for the exam class separately, depending upon. So one-to-one class will be arranged. So just update me before your exam, a week before at least your exam. Many students I've seen, they have a habit of telling, my exam is day after tomorrow. So in 2 days, it's become very difficult, right? So just keep on updating. And last portion is measurement of length, mass, and time. This also is almost deleted from your syllabus, but some things are important for your class 12 and your entrances if someone has to appear. That I'll be just telling you. All right. Now, before starting with anything in physics, one concept that you have to be aware is about the physical quantities. I'll give you time to write it down. Right now, do not write down anything. And Sabiha, who is traveling today, you can take up the screenshots if you are having difficulty. For today, you can take up the screenshots, but at least maintain a proper notebook. As I'm telling you, these notes are very important and they have been collected and made from different books so that you don't have to refer anywhere else. These are sufficient. We'll be practicing numerical after every topic. 1 numerical, 2 numerical, 3 numericals, depending upon what is important. All right. So how many students are present? All right. Yes, so coming to physical quantities, that's your first topic. Now, what are physical quantities? By the term physical only, you can understand that can be measured, right? Something that you can measure. If I ask you, suppose you all are present here. If I tell you, if I give you this pen and I ask you, what is the length of this pen? Will you be able to tell me? Yes, you will take up a scale. You will measure what's the length. Then you will tell me what's the length of the scale. Correct? Suppose I ask you, what's your weight? You will stand on a weighing machine. You'll tell me your weight. I'll know what's your weight. If I ask you, what's the time? What will you do? You look up the clock, your wristwatch or the wall clock, you'll tell me what's the time. So using some means, you are able to tell me these, right? These quantities which I told you. If I ask you, suppose I'm asking Sahla, I'm asking how much honesty do you portray? Will you be able to tell me 1 kg, 2 kg, how much? You won't be able to tell because this is abstract, something you cannot measure. So something, the quantities that can be measured, those are called as physical quantities. So starting with dimension analysis, we'll start with the very basics. That is the physical quantities. So physical quantities are those quantities that can be measured using some device or the other. And these are also of 2 types. This is the first topic, and physical quantity word will be used everywhere. And all of these physical quantities that we'll be studying, you have to write their dimensional formula, dimension analysis, little things are there. We'll be going on slowly. So 2 types of physical quantities are present. Means physical quantities are also grouped into 2 categories. All right. One, we say the fundamental. Others are derived. See, what is meant by fundamental? Fundamental means something that is already present, right? You do not need some other quantity to define that. Some quantities are already existing. Like if I ask you length, you have no formula for length except for measuring the actual length with the help of scale, right? You do not have any formula for length. For time, you do not have any formula for time. In fact, time is used in other formula. From there you can calculate time, that's a different thing, right? But if fundamentally means something that is very basic, right? That is very basic. So mass, you do not have any formula for mass. You have to take a spring balance, you have to take a weighing machine to measure the mass. So all these quantities, these are fundamental. Like length, you have time. But when you use these fundamental quantities with some mathematical operations like plus, minus, add, divide, right? These are now derived because they have been derived from the fundamental quantities. So what are derived? Like example, if I talk about velocity, do not worry, for everything we have separate chapters. The next lesson, that is your kinematics, motion in a straight line, we will be starting with velocity and everything. So velocity's formula is length over time. So see, length, that was fundamental, which had no formula. Time, which was one fundamental and had no formula, now is used. Now both of these are used with a mathematical operation, that is division. And both of them are getting divided and giving you a new quantity, that is the velocity. So means the derived quantities. So what are derived quantities? What are fundamental quantities? Fundamental quantities and derived quantities, whatever listings with that we'll have. For fundamental, some quantities are fundamental. Then we use these fundamental to make the derived. So for every fundamental and derived quantity, you have portions in your syllabus that we'll be dealing. But right now in your dimension analysis portion, no, this portion, the chapter that we are studying, you do not have specific meaning of that what you'll be studying. You will be just understanding how to calculate. That will be done through the time. Just write down till here, copy it till here. Then we'll start first with fundamental, then we'll go to the derived quantities. All right. So from the unit, just write down everything. Slowly I'll scroll. Keep on updating me in the chat column. Done. Scroll down. Just let me know. All right. Start writing from here. We have started from your unit 1.
Done, ma'am.
I hope you've written. If anyone is writing, just update me. Now, see, let's start with the fundamental quantities. So I've already told you what are fundamental quantities. Quantities that cannot be expressed in terms of other physical quantities are called fundamental quantities. Now you have your standard international system, that is SI system. We'll be following the SI system only. CBSE in your for your board exams, also for your class 11 final exams, also everywhere you have to follow this SI system. Now you have 7 fundamental quantities and 2 supplementary quantities are present. Now see, we'll be starting with the 7 fundamental quantities first. So what are those fundamental basic quantities? SI unit. You have to remember the SI unit also for all these. And the CGS unit. CGS means centimeter gram second system. Like your mass, if we talk about mass, you know what's mass? Amount of matter that is contained. So mass is represented as capital M. All right, this is represented as capital M for your dimension analysis formula also. What is the SI unit? SI unit is kg. And what is the CGS unit? CGS unit is grams. Then coming to length. What is length? Length tells you the distance or the calculation part that is done through the help of something, right? So this is represented through capital L and its SI unit is meters. Please remember these. These will be used throughout. And CGS unit is centimeters. Then coming to quantity, time. SI unit and CGS unit both have the times unit as seconds. All right. Now see, for your time, mass and length, these are the fundamental quantities that will be used throughout in your class 11th, right? And especially in your dimensional analysis, that is this lesson, all these 3, mass, length and time, will be used. Rest of these will also be used, but they are not as frequently used as these 3. So mass, length and time are the important quantities. Coming to temperature. Temperature is represented as theta also or as Kelvin also. Theta or Kelvin. Reason is that SI unit for temperature is Kelvin. This is actually Kelvin. Let me write it. Represented with this key. And CGS unit is degree Celsius. So for temperature, we have in your class 11 second book, you have your thermal physics. There you have thermodynamics, thermal properties of matter. There we'll be talking about temperature. But you have to remember in dimension analysis, at least the formula part if it comes. Then current is represented as capital A or sometimes as I also. The SI unit is amperes. All right. SI unit is ampere. Don't go for the CGS unit. It has the SI unit as amperes only. Now see, electric current is a part of your class 12th only. So details will not be there in your class 11. It's just that if current is mentioned, you should write A in the formula. We'll see how to put it in the formula. Then luminous intensity means suppose this tube light is also showering light. So what is the intensity of that light? That is known as luminous intensity. And the unit is candela. Lastly is amount of substance. This you will be studying in your chemistry also. Chemistry chapter 1 also you will study the mole concept. So amount of substance that is present in one atom, one molecule, and SI unit is mole. You have a chapter, mole concept you will be studying about. Now, these are the 7 fundamental quantities. This is very easy. You all will be able to manage this chapter. The next chapter is a little tricky. We'll be studying that, but for that you have to know the basics. All right. Now, the 2 quantities that are present. See, one is the plane angle. Plane angle means, suppose 2 lines I have drawn, and both of these lines are intersecting at a point. Let's say they are making this angle theta. So this angle theta is called as the plane angle. Why? Because this is formed in 2 dimensions. Right? In your 2D sheets, even if you're in your notebook, you draw it. Right? 2 lines have drawn and the intersection between them is known as an angle. This is represented through theta. You have done your trigonometry also. In your trigonometry, you must have done sine theta, cos theta, tan theta. So this is theta, plane angle for 2 dimensions. So what is the SI unit for this? Angle has a unit that we have not been using in the previous classes. But now from class 11th, we'll be using the SI unit, that is radian. SI unit is radian. Second supplementary quantity is a solid angle. Now, what is meant by a solid angle is, suppose the angle that is formed in 3 dimensions. All right, the angle that is formed in 3 dimensions. Suppose I take a paper is 2 dimension, but if I roll it and make it in the form of a cone, if you see in the end of the cone, this angle is formed, the 3D angle, 3-dimensional angle at the corner of this cone. This is the solid angle. Best example for solid angle is a cone. Fine. And how is it solid angle represented? Okay, Sabir. How is solid angle represented? Through the symbol omega. And what is the SI unit? SI unit, you had the unit SI unit as radian for the plane angle. Just put 3 letters, STE, steradian. That is the unit for solid angle. We do not use solid angle much. Plane angle is only used, but the quantities you should be aware of, right? Write down the fundamental quantities. See, when we talk about the derived quantities, this also let us complete. Derived quantities are used with the help of fundamental quantities. So you have various formula, because you will be studying these formula in detail. You have velocity as distance upon time. You have acceleration as velocity upon time. You have F is equal to ma, you must have heard of. Force is equal to mass into acceleration. It's a very famous Newton's equation. We'll be studying all of these. So these are used and they are formed with the help of a third quantity. So velocity, then acceleration, forces, all these are derived quantities. So we'll be now then studying about dimensions. We'll start with the actual calculation part, but before that, copy down this as well from here.
Excuse me, ma'am. Could you please scroll up a bit? Thank you.
Ma'am, can you scroll up? Ma'am, can you scroll down?
All right, I hope all of you have written. See, dimensional formula part, this is a different portion. So I think we should start it in the next class. Okay, let me brief you till. Initially, we'll start with the easiest portion. Suppose we have a standard formula, M, L, T. I told you these three are very important, mass, length, and time, right? So mass, length, and time. Let me write it. M is for mass, L is for length, and T is for time. Now, what is the formula of area? Length into breadth. What is the symbol used for length? It is L. What is breadth? Breadth is actually the length only. You measure it, it's the length only. So this is L. So this becomes L into L is L square. That is the dimensional formula of area is L square. But what about M now? What about T? Because L we know the power. See, we have to write it in terms of some power. X, Y, Z, whatever powers we have. So see, we can write this formula as, if mass is not mentioned, we can write it M0. Length we have found that length is square. T is again 0. So M0 L square T to the power 0. This is the dimensional formula of area. Understood? So how do you write the dimensional formula? If you have to write its dimensional formula, L square T0. Or you can directly write it as L square. One more example I'll give you. See, suppose volume. How do we write volume? It's written as length into breadth into height. What do we use for length? We use L. What do we use for breadth? We use L only. What do we use for height? We use L. We have to write it in terms of fundamental quantities only. So we know height has no separate formula. It has the fundamental quantity as length only, because height is actually the length. You measure the length. So we can write this as LQ. Or you can write it as M to the power 0, L to the power 3, T to the power 0. Now in the formula where mass will be used, time will be used, mass and time will be filled accordingly. Write down these two examples. Class, if you have completed, you all can leave today. You will not be having your after class assessment because we have done a very small portion. We'll be discussing in detail about the